Welcome once again to Record and welcome. Special guest today, Gene Ho, all the way in Arkansas. And we're going to talk, of course, about what happened to the president this weekend. Gene's had a special relationship with him for many years as a photographer. And Gene, you will know him better than almost any other politician.
Yeah, Ronnie, I spent 2 years as Donald Trump's campaign photographer. So this was early on in the beginning before he even officially started running for office. So I was with him until he finished and became elected United States president. And then after that, I spent some time with the campaign in 2020 and also photographed the president as the president of the United States. So I had a unique vision that many people don't see because I was behind the scenes seeing how it all developed and seeing what the president of the United States really is like in person.
Well, yes, I mean, you've got to be aware of the way Europe in general looks at him. The politicians have had a real go, and he's not popular. And this war, of course, has not helped him. And there is a difference between the way we tackle things in Europe, which is a bit more laid back, than the go-go attitude of the Americans. Having said that, I mean, what's he really like?
Well, here's the thing. You have to remember that many people from other countries, individuals, love Donald Trump. He's loved all over the country. However, when it comes to other foreign administrations and some foreign press, they're not really going to like him, and they're really not supposed to because he's as America first as he could possibly get. But the thing is, Ronnie, one of the things and the biggest misconceptions of Donald Trump, personally, one-on-one, he is a extremely likable person. Some of the times you see the sound bites that you have in mainstream media, but the thing is with these sound bites, they take a small portion of what he's really like. And the bottom line is this is what Americans want. Americans want someone that's tough talking. As he was my boss. So as a boss, people don't always like how he runs things. Even myself, when he was doing things, he was very strict on certain things, expected things a certain way. But that is the type of president we like to have. But at the same time, one-on-one, very personable, very likable.
Yeah, that's great. I understand that. He's so different from Sir Keir Starmer, who, yes, we say no more. There's real problems for the UK and I believe Europe as well with our present Prime Minister. It doesn't look like he's going to last very long. Listen, back to what happened this weekend. It was horrible. It was frightening. And seeing an overnight program, you could see the tension, the fear in that room. But honestly, the guy got to 100 yards of the president himself. He should have been nowhere near that. And that hotel has got history, hasn't it?
Well, actually, I just did a video that we put on in our georgemagazine.com, our Facebook page. I posted it yesterday because I had the unique ability to spend an extreme amount of time with Secret Service. Basically, as my job as photographer, I would sit in front of my backdrop for hours waiting for the president to show up. So when that happened, I had a chance to speak with a lot of the Secret Service. And so last night I did a video. The way Secret Service operates, there are multiple layers upon layers of protection before they even get to the president. So you are right. No matter where this man ran to, I could tell you that there were, and I don't know the exact number, but I'll just make one up, about 10 different levels before he would have actually got to the president of the United States. And I saw that firsthand. Rodney, one time after I finished an event, I left my lights back into the room, and I went back into the room to pick up my lights, and I was dumbfounded the amount of the Secret Service that was in that room just basically after we got finished. And I was like, where were all these people before? The Secret Service does an amazing job, and the president, even last night on 60 Minutes, reiterated that.
Well, he had the courage to meet the press again. He's sort of kept them at bay in this particular instance in previous years. But the press, all there is a love-hate relationship, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whether it's
Well, right. The press needs him.
yeah,
That's the thing. They need the views that Donald Trump garners every time he speaks something. And Donald Trump is he's a master of appearing in front of the camera.
absolutely. Listen, I want to read you something now
All right.
because I think it's quite exceptional when you're thinking of the president of the US and what he's been through. Four indictments. He's had twice impeachment offences. He's had 34 convictions. He's had 91 charges against him. And he's had four assassination attempts, and they've all failed. That is incredible as a list. Is God looking after him?
Well, here's the thing when it comes to Donald Trump. Donald Trump knows what is at stake here for America. What's going to happen, and we talked about this before, the midterms are coming up. So for everyone following us in the UK and so forth, the midterms will be in this November. If Donald Trump loses the midterms, when I say that, he's not on the ballot, but the ruling party, we have the House here and the Senate. If they go both to, or one of them, or even both of them go to the Democrats, it would be like the MPs that you favor, them being out of power. And then once that happens, then you'll see all these indictments, and you'll see subpoenas go out. You'll see impeachment inquiries and so forth. So the thing is, Donald Trump knows that, and what Donald Trump does is right now is he's getting everything done out of the way so that the United States and the people here will be very happy with the economy, with the state of the world before that election. And that's the goal of what we're trying to do. Otherwise, like you said, it goes back to the other thing. And just so I can answer your question with that, that assassination attempt in Butler was real. I know that because I saw the New York Times photographer. He had the bullet on his camera, and that cannot be faked, because that right there, that bullet, it goes into the metadata. This he missed losing his life by millimeters, if that. And so really, now that we have this, Donald Trump himself has thanked God for this. And I think that America is ready for a new revival now that we have something to look forward to, the midterms. Things have to improve drastically before the midterms. And I think they already are.
Well, it's quite distinct from Europe, of course, because way back when Tony Blair was in power as Prime Minister, his chief guy that he relies on for advice said, we don't do God. And that is general in Europe. You know, politics is separate from God. But basically, they don't do God. We are surprised when your generals come on and say, we've nuked this or done that in expansive language when they're talking about the Iran war, for instance. And you think, oh, that's a bit aggressive. And at the end, they always say, well, we thank God he's looking after us. Now, you'd never get that in Europe. God's been put in a corner.
Well, here's something interesting, Rodney. 2 years ago, in the cover of George magazine, we talked about the plight of Christians in Nigeria. Now, think about this. We're not even talking about Americans. We're talking about Christians, our brothers and sisters in Nigeria. And we brought that to the table. The first thing, or one of the first things that Donald Trump did, is he brought United States military to defend those Christians in Nigeria. This is huge. Reminder here, when we talk about God, when it's talking about Donald Trump, he specifically names Christians, not just any old God, not everybody's God, specifically Christians. And that is a defender of what we have in the United States, that the president of the United States could use the full might and majesty of the United States military to protect Christians in Nigeria. And that is the type of president we have. And he's, from what I've seen and behind the scenes, He's not ashamed to be called a Christian.
And it's very apposite, of course, 250 years later from the Mayflower, because it was founded by Christians, America.
Yeah, we are actually very excited about America's 250th birthday. George Magazine has a publication of some of my never seen before photographs that I've taken pictures of Donald Trump from over 10 years ago. There's a lot of celebrations in the United States, and Rodney, this is one of the reasons why I feel so confident in the future. When we get to the July 4th celebrations, reminder, to be honest, America at this point doesn't want to face $4 a gallon gasoline, $5 a gallon of gasoline, and try to celebrate the birthday in going into the midterms. Everything is in play right now. And by the way, we feel that if Donald Trump could do this, world safety all around will be better very soon, and including the byproduct of the UK or Europe or that will be the byproduct of the safer world due to Donald Trump.
Right, we'll move on to something else, because there's a strange thing happening in America, and it's coming on social media, podcasts, etc. And it's a collision, if you wish, between spiritual and Q adjacent. And it's a new age product, this. And the Americans are apparently blaming Europe for bringing it over.
You know, here's a fascinating thing about boots on the ground in America. So I don't know how by the time it gets to Europe, the UK, Spain, or whatever, how it works. But the mainstream media works in conjunction very well with what we call the black pill nihilistic podcasters that really pretend to be MAGA, but Donald Trump himself has already called them out on that. These very loud minority do not represent the general people in the United States, the traditional true MAGA. And so we see it here as well, but I couldn't even imagine, Rodney, by the time this goes on X, the mainstream media amplifies it. By the time people where you are get it, it's a totally different message. But now what we have here is us with George Magazine and talking to you, us delivering this message of what's really going on in America. And this is really what's going on. There's a lot of support with Donald Trump. The people here understand what's going on. They tolerate, as if it's a big deal, the $4, $5 gasoline, wherever it's at right now. Where I am is $3.50 a gallon, not a liter, but a gallon. And so it's everyone is fine here. We're patiently watching the president take care of business.
Yeah, we've got to concentrate on the business aspect of it. It usually leads you down the right road. The other thing that regarding this new, as it were, sect, let's point out some names here. Charlie Ward, Simon Parks, Mel Kay, Janine Tarrant, she's known as. These are the people that are going on podcasts and getting their views, influential views, over to the public. And they are capturing an audience. Looking at it from this side of the pond, basically, it seems to me to be a cheap form of religion without any need of, as they say in theological terms, discipleship. In other words, commitment. It's easy. It's the new age. It's the 60s reborn, the hippies.
Well, here's what the truth of the matter is, what's going on in America. What's going on is Donald Trump is the president of the United States, and he has certain policies. And what the policy that he has is drill, baby, drill.
Yeah.
His policy is a strong dollar, which is proof of that because he actively went after any thought of the BRICS nation forming their own reserve currency. You have another case, which we talked about, where Russia itself sold off 22 tons of gold and exchanged it for what? They exchanged it for a United States dollar. So the whole thing is, no matter what a person says, you want to ask yourself, what is the president of the United States doing? Forget what I say, what someone else says, whatever. what is the agenda of the president of the United States? And quite frankly, it doesn't go against the dollar collapsing. It doesn't go against some fantasy that the United States is run by someone else other than what we have, a specific structure, an executive branch, an elected legislative branch, and a judicial. This is the structure of the United States of America. It's strong, and it's always been strong, and this is what's going on right now. So what you end up having is many podcasters on all sides developing different narratives. But the thing is, right now, the narrative is what Donald Trump is doing. And Donald Trump is strong on the dollar, strong on the Federal Reserve United States dollar. And he's big on drilling for oil. That is the future of the prosperity of the United States and not some sort of fantasy.
Well, that's 180 degrees, isn't it, from what is happening with the podcasters, because their operation, their manifesto, if you wish, starts with gold-backed banking system, really? And then it goes on to distribution of wealth. That's out the communist songbook, but typical of this sort of thing. Then there's global military alliances. You can see how that works in Europe or doesn't. And then there's what they call spiritual warfare. But it's basically something that's built on fear.
Listen, with all the stuff going on, and there's so many aspects of this. But the bottom line is, basically the end of the day, do these whatever theories, conspiracy theories, all of their things, does it add to a weaker America or a stronger America? I'll just give you an example of this. The gold-backed dollar. The people could get a gold-backed dollar. It's called a Zimbabwe ZiG. That is a gold-backed dollar, or currency, I should say, not dollar. It's a gold back. But would anyone here ever exchange their US dollars, even the euros or anything, for a gold-backed ZiG because they claim that it's gold back? I mean, that's fine. But it depends upon the nation that is backing that currency. You could say all day long that it's gold back, but if you're just trusting in another piece of paper, whereas the dollar is strong today because of our system, and there is a plan in place for more prosperity for the United States because of the drill, baby drill. And now the United States is the #1 nation producer of crude oil. More, as the president said, more than Saudi Arabia and Russia combined. That is the future of the United States, and not some fantasy that everyone's just going to get $1 billion check in the mail and everything's going to be great. That's not going to happen that way.
Finally, Gene, as chief editor of the George magazine and your history photography, that was my subject at college, photography. So I'm a fan already, and I want some secrets divulging, please.
You know what? here's the thing. I love talking photography, and the secret of photography, if there is one, it's still about people. So just like anything else, when you have, there's always so much that you can learn with the camera. But we found with what we've done before this with my studio, it's ultimately a connection of people. So if you're looking for the right emotions, the right look, and the right everything, it's really secondary with your camera. By the way, Rodney, I find it interesting that you asked that, because right now on my website, well, we have two. We have the business one, georgemagazine.com, and my personal one, geneho.com. But I'm starting to put short lessons on how to take photos from the cell phone, showing it's a big difference. It's not so much the technology, so to speak, or the equipment. Is your connection with either the person or what you're doing, and the vision that you see in your head. So I love that question. It's great to talk photography again.
Well, that's been always my number one choice. You've got to get a relationship going. It's what they give to the camera and to you
Yeah.
that makes that photograph. It's the connection, isn't it?
Yes, I love speaking about it.
Yeah, and I've got a supplement now for you. And
Yeah.
we have never discovered the truth about this, is that when people want to come on television, we give them a test. And
Oh,
they say, well, oh, all right then. And I don't relax, or do relax in a situation, but just act normally. And why are you doing this? Well, it's because we want to see if the camera likes you or doesn't. And you can get one really nice looking girl and the camera doesn't like her. And you think, oh, how can I tell her that it's not working? And you get somebody that is off camera. And as soon as they get on camera, they sort of blossom and it's a different person. Now, what makes the camera like you?
it's because I'm just so handsome. No, just joking. Here's the thing. I have actually traveled all around the country. Spent almost 2 years on tour with many people, including Charlie Kirk. I did a couple events with him, and including Eric Trump. And so I've gotten a chance to speak to a lot of people one on one. But I have nowadays I don't travel at all anymore. So my main source of communication is is through the camera, talking to people. So I just want to thank your viewers. They could follow us as well, but we hope that this will be a continuing thing, because we love to talk about our friends, also our Christian brothers and sisters in your end of the pond, and we love to do this, and also, Rodney, to let people know what is really going on in America, so that they could bypass what the propaganda that they see online. This is the truth here.
Gene, it's been a joy. We'll do this again very shortly. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you so much.